questions to be answered, and to help us with some of those questions, perhaps answering some of them, we have WGN's political analyst, Paul Lisnek. And so, Paul, it seems like over the past several weeks, ever since President Biden's dismal, debate, the Democratic Party has lost spirit, lost energy. What would you say this does for the mood of the Democratic Party now that the president has made this decision to drop out the race?
It's an interesting perspective when you think back. The reason that debate happened was at Biden's request. So be careful what you wish for, because he thought that was going to be his moment to shine and take over the race. And of course, it couldn't have been further from the truth. So yes, you're absolutely right. The Democrats got sincerely depressed after that. And where were things going to go? I think you will see a quick turnaround now. Now that he's pointed to Vice President Harris as his successor and pointed in that direction, I think you will see even Democrats who didn't look. The polls seem to show she doesn't do that much better than Biden. But I think you're going to see some change in that now, because now Democrats know what's going to happen.
Paul, there was absolutely no way that President Biden could have stayed in this race. Why?
Well, first of all, we'll start with that performance at the debate. But beyond that, Taman, and we've all watched the interviews he would give with George Stephanopoulos, with Lester Holt of NBC. I mean, there was never a moment where he was off prompter that he was able to take command of the stage and take command of what he was saying. Only when he was on prompter. And he has nice moments when he's giving a speech to a rally in North Carolina, for example. But but people need to see the president can think on his feet and is sharp. Look, everybody who even supports him says, nobody knows foreign policy like him, and there's no question that for the next 4 months, he's probably just fine in handling his duties. But I think the answer was in watching him off prompter, off script, when people just said he's just not the same Joe Biden he was years ago.
Just to quickly follow up, Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama certainly played a role behind the scenes.
Oh, without question. And, we were, for weeks, we were talking about the various congressmen who were on board and all that. And you and I talked about this, Taman, when Nancy Pelosi stepped in, and it was pretty clear to other people, though she never said it, that it was time for Biden to step down. At that point, the answer was written. It was going to happen. It was a matter of time. She was not taking no for an answer. In fact, just quickly, she would talk to him on the phone, give him statistics. He would fight her back and say, I have polls that see other things. And she'd say, no, you put your pollster on the phone with me. I want to hear those numbers. Don't mess with Nancy Pelosi.
Speaking of women, strong women, what do you think that Harris brings to the table that President Biden does not, if she, does receive the nomination for the Democratic
Party? Well, look,
Party?
she's strong on her feet. She's going to handle herself well in a debate. It'll be interesting to see whether the next debate is the scheduled one that was between Biden and Trump, or whether they do something earlier. We'll see what the Republicans think about that, and her. But, you have to remember, she's been through this. She ran for president before. Didn't do very well that time around, but had some real interesting lines, even went against Joe Biden in that election. So she can handle herself well. There's a risk here, right? This country has never elected a woman of color before, because she's mixed. So a woman of color has never been elected president. That's a huge risk to take. Now, they did elect Barack Obama at one point, so whether they'll take that chance again, it depends. And it also depends who she picks as a running mate and how the ticket balances out. I hate to put things in terms of demographics like that and gender, but look, it's a factor that affects people. So let's be honest about it and say that people will consider it.
Republicans were preparing to run against Joe Biden at their convention, emphasizing strength versus weakness. This really shakes up the race, and the polling, we should just probably throw that all away, right?
Well, there's no question that the Trump campaign, although they'll tell you they were also, and they were working on some Harris possibilities, but clearly millions, months spending going after Biden. That's where they were going with this, and now things have to shift. So lots of major things. We're seeing former President Trump issue a bunch of tweets as he's saying things, but they've got to get their footing on this. And there are some concerns with, the way that she handled the border, which was assigned to her. So they will try and put some of the Biden policies on her. It is a Biden-Harris administration, but I think she will then step out and make it clear that so much of these successes go with President Biden and her, but she'll have to forge her own way moving forward. Immigration will be her tough argument here.
And just kind of sticking along with the Republican Party, obviously RNC was last week, a lot of momentum, a lot of energy. Does this change their mood and how they move forward trying to win the White House?
Well, I think so. And here's the thing. Had Biden not stepped down and we moved into a DNC with just the cast of characters as we do them, it would have been a very depressing DNC, right? Just like, you're going to be there. I mean, it would just have been a tone that wasn't going to go very well in my view. But the RNC came out united, came out strong. I think you're now seeing something. I've always said since that time, and the Democrats have to do something to shake this up. What was going to shake it up? Only one thing, and that's Biden stepping down. And that's happened. Democrats will be re-energized.
And there's some reporting tonight that the Democratic donors who were reluctant, who have closed the purse, closed their wallets, that money is starting to flow now.
And their threats, by the way, Taman, was not just pulling the money from the Biden campaign. They were to increase their leverage. They were telling Senate candidates and congressional candidates, you're not getting our money either. That's why everybody was in a panic over this. But as you report, they're coming home.
Money talks in politics
Yes,
and
it
in
does.
America.
Follow the money.
Paul Lisnek, our political analyst. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, appreciate it.